Call the meeting to order. Thank you for your patience. We still might have, Tom, our chair, might be here just a little late, but we've got special agenda tonight. So we'll turn right over to AOT. You guys can start your presentation.
Sure. That'd be great.
Okay.
Kick it off.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree.
They're non-host.
I'll just when they get over to run the slides, that's all I'm gonna do. I don't wanna mess with these in.
One more watching, waiting room.
I think we're all set. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
You were, it was looking for the
Yeah,
cameras.
here it comes.
There we go. All right. All right, well, thanks everybody for coming here tonight. We're here to talk about Fairfield STP Deck 51 is the project name that we gave for Vermont Route 36 Bridge 6 over the Fairfield River. And we're here tonight to present the upcoming construction project. In a minute. So we'd like to get this slide to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Rob Young, I'm the project manager. We have quite a few people here tonight amongst us. I'm going to call them out. Chris Lavlet is here. He's the V-Trans resident engineer. He's going to be the representative during the construction phase, so he'll be the person you'll see in the field.
Okay, who's Chris?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
That's Chris Lavlet. David Peterson is here. He's the project engineer. And you have Artie St. Ange is here, A.L. St. Ange. He's really the guy doing the heavy lifting for us to get that bridge replaced. And Stephanie Barrett is here. She is our public information officer, so she's going to getting the word out. This meeting is kind of a part of that process, but she's been gathering names of folks just to get more and more word and consensus on letting people know so they can be clear what the expectations are during that construction phase. And Josh Plaquette is here. He's also a V-Trans design engineer. So we have a bunch of folks here just to let you guys know that we're here to be available to answer any questions tonight. So I'm going to go over some brief, myself and Dave are going to go over some project overview, some existing conditions of the existing bridge. We're going to talk about maintenance of traffic, the project construction schedule, that when the expectation that folks will be, already saw some signs out there, but we'll see more and more activity as we get closer to the start date. And we'll also have Stephanie here to talk about our public information kind of effort that's going on as of it. And we have some contact information on the last slide. So this is the location of the project, right down the road. It's a pretty local bridge, even though it's state-owned. It gets a lot of local traffic. Folks can see that. There's a better view of it there. So we're all talking about the same location. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dave to talk about the specifics of the project.
All right, thanks Rob. So yeah, we'll kind of hit on just the basics, kind of why we're here, what we're going to do, I guess what Artie and his team is going to do. So just some basic terminology, you know, bridge railing, bridge surface, so pavement, and then there's some superstructure components, the deck, beams, bearing devices, and then the substructure is made up of wing walls, stem, footing, and the bridge seat. And really this project, we're doing a new deck, some new kind of back wall bridge seat work, new bearings, but the substructures are in decent condition, so we're gonna kind of keep those. The girders are decent too, so we get some life out of those still, so that's the plan. So here's a picture of the existing bridge as it was 5 years ago now, almost. So it's a major collector, about 90 feet long, owned by the state. It was first constructed in 1955, and You know, it's right near the post office and the little market there. So, just another shot looking the other direction. So, the idea here, the deck itself, poor condition, there are some holes in it, we already put, V-Trans put some plates out there to, you know, kind of temporarily shore up those holes. The beams themselves, they're actually in fairly decent condition, they're rated a 6, which is from 1 to 10, so they still have some life in them, so we wanna, you know, get as much life out of those girders as we can, and that's kind of why we're just replacing the deck on this one, so. And then the substructures too, they're on bedrock, really solid, not a lot of cracking, so we said, you know, we'll kind of take them off at the bridge seat, pour some new wing walls, and go from there. So you kind of see there's a hole there. The girders themselves though, you know, paint's coming off here and there, but in general, they don't have any major section loss. So there's some good life left, so we want to kind of, you can see there, rated satisfactory 6. We think we can get another 40 years out of these girders, with possibly a paint job down the road is kind of what they would need next. And another shot of the abutment, you can see some bedrock there, and there was a temporary wall that was put in there some years ago. I forget exactly what year. And then here you can kind of see some of the paint coming off the bottom of the girders, but in general, they're still pretty solid. And some cracking in the back wall, so that cracking there, completely removed, all new concrete, rebar in that area. And skip ahead. And then the railings themselves, they looking really rough, so, you know, we're putting some really nice, and I'll have some pictures of examples. It's our combination rail, so it's concrete, steel, 42-inch high rail that's good for pedestrians and bikes. So just a summary of the work that I kind of just talked about. So we're going to replace the deck, new concrete deck with the curtain walls is kind of the substructure that backs up the roadway, and new bridge railing and new bearings so we're going to have the beams jacked up, set on new pads that sit on the substructure. So one thing we're able to do was kind of widen the roadway out a couple feet on each side and really maintain kind of the existing width of the bridge, but our bridge rail is a little narrower than what's out there, so we were able to get a wider shoulder, which is really nice, much safer for bike, ped kind of movement. So a 5-foot shoulder is actually quite large. Probably even for this area, it really only required a 3-foot shoulder, so for the state standards. And then we're using that combination concrete steel rail, it's a good looking rail, and it's also 42 inches high, which is the needed height for pedestrian and bike safety. And we're looking to get 40 years out of this new deck, and before a new complete bridge replacement needs to be done. So the construction cost, it was bid at $1.5 million, and that's just for construction. There's other incidentals that are not included in that. So here's a picture of the cross section of the new bridge. So we have the 11-foot lane, the 5-foot shoulder, and then a view of the bridge rail. So here, bridge rail, new concrete deck, and we're going to utilize pre-stressed, precast deck panels. So that's what these gray pieces are. So they're precast concrete, so concrete that's cast off at the fabricator, shipped to the site, and then the contractor can use these in place of conventional plywood deck forming. So it saves time, and it saves the extra step of not having to go back under the bridge, remove all that plywood afterwards, which this site's semi-difficult to get to. It's kind of a steep area, deep ravine, so it's kind of a new efficient way to get this done within the closure period. Just a quick layout, kind of tough to see. So the bridge is here, you know, same alignment, the roadway's not changing, the vertical grade's not changing, the bridge is going right back in the same, going to be right in the same place. We did include some new drainage on the east end. There was some existing stuff there, but there were some drainage issues in that area that we wanted to address, and so we added some new drainage on that side. And then the other thing we added, we noticed there was some washing out kind of on the north corner of the bridge here, so we added some stone fill down in this ravine there to hopefully prevent that from happening in the future. And just a profile of the roadway, it's really kind of matching the existing roadway. So you can see pretty deep ravine down to the river here, so the bridge is sitting up nice and high and dry. And as I mentioned, we're kind of using a combination of accelerated bridge construction techniques, which is those deck panels that contractor brings them in, sets them down, and just keeps going, sets them all the way across the bridge. And then the top of the deck, so they're only half depth, so they're, I believe, 3.5 inches deep, or 4.5 inches, and then they'll pour concrete, conventional concrete on the top. So that allows for much better, you know, finish in the end. Really get a good ride, a better finish. So it's a good combination of using accelerated elements where we can in conventional construction that provides a better product. So here's a picture of the deck panels going in on a project. So you can see these are the beams here. So the panels get placed in between them, and then they'll get concreted together, and then pour a thin deck over top of that. And there'll be rebar placed across the whole top of the deck here too, before that concrete's poured. And then here's a view of what the bridge railing is going to look like. So you can see it's concrete halfway up, and then it has steel rail up above and some concrete end blocks. So it's a nice looking, kind of meets the aesthetically pleasing rail, plus it provides, you know, one of the highest crash test ratings that we have for a rail, meets the pedestrian height. So it's one of our more robust bridge railings. So the road closure, 28-day closure. The detour is 42 miles end to end. So here's the regional detour. You can see it goes kind of back in St. Albans, up 105, around. So it adds 12.5 miles for round trip around to the route. So that will be signed. Contractor put signs out there, have traffic go around the bridge during that 28-day closure. So. And as we mentioned, the town, V-Trans provided some local bypass compensation to offset. You know, there's always anticipated local traffic finding those local routes around. So V-Trans has a compensation to help offset maintenance, enforcement, other signs, and impacts to those local roads. Skip ahead to the milestone dates. So this was based on the initial schedule the contractor submitted. So pre-closure work will start kind of towards the end of June, And that'll include like single day lane closures to do site work to prep, for the main bridge closure. Maybe do some drainage, other earthwork here and there, but the idea is that kind of standard work hours during that period, 5 days a week, things open back up at the end of the day. And then bridge closure slated to begin around July 9th. I
Is
don't,
that still a target date?
is that, yeah, okay, perfect. So, and then, so that's when things get shut down, and plan is to, you know, I don't believe work nights, but definitely work weekends, as far as things go now, but you don't know what happens during the project that may change things, weather, this or that, you know, unexpected things come up, but, that's the plan, so. And then project completion, I believe, was August 27th, so should be out of here pretty quickly, and then back up and running. So this slide, this has Stephanie's contact information. She sends out, I don't know if they're weekly updates, but they'll be more frequent definitely as things get closer to construction. You know, getting on her mailing list is ideal if you want information about the project and to stay up to date on things. Her phone number's there too. She's pretty easy, very responsive, easy to get a hold of, so definitely reach out if you have any questions.
Stephanie, will you use Front Porch Forum to reach citizens in Fairfield, or through us, or?
Yes, through you folks, I think Kathy's gonna do that,
Okay,
I
so,
posted this one last week.
okay,
right,
As soon as I have what I need, I will post it.
okay.
yeah, so typically Thursdays, and I try to get things out by noon, but sometimes it's later on Thursdays, but definitely Thursdays. And if you folks start getting calls, by all means, you need to give them my phone number and have them call me. So, I am the go-between, and I will follow up on any and every call that comes through.
And we'll get a copy of this presentation in case folks that didn't make it tonight, or if others, will get a copy of that PDF. So folks can look at the presentation and get the contact information.
So what happens when you take the deck off and you look at the steel? Are there surprises that we could anticipate? I mean, you renovate a home, there's always a surprise, right? So.
This should be the overview. Yeah.
This one, I mean, yeah, we've had bridges where we take off the deck and there's no top flange in places, and there's this one, we're not anticipating that, you know.
There was the possibility, right, of, we never know, we can talk about shear studs, but there's a part that we attach, there are pieces of metal that are welded to the top flange that make it more difficult. I think already you said you didn't start using shear studs until
Yeah,
after.
early 60s, yeah, so they shouldn't, hopefully they're not on there.
So hopefully that surprise has been mitigated.
Yeah.
Any questions from the public for the experts that are here, or? Yeah. Sign of the cross back there. Well, that was for good weather. And then we have, I guess we'll talk internally about our detours, but any other questions on signage or communications for the, I didn't see on that schedule when you're gonna post detour signs, is that?
So they're gonna be out as soon as next week, right?
Yeah.
Putting the signs up,
They'll be covered.
but yeah, they'll be covered. And then once we close on the 9th,
Mhm.
then they'll be uncovered.
Oh, I see, okay, so put them up in uncovered for the electronic or physical signs?
I think there's both.
Yeah, there's both, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll be sending out my emails, a couple weeks, 2 weeks prior.
Yep.
So, for the 2 weeks prior, giving everybody a heads up, the detour is coming.
Does V-Trans post to the the big dogs. Do you guys email out to the big truck industries and?
Trucking companies, yeah, that's one of our stakeholders.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
And we also have another meeting scheduled with emergency services, just to make sure that they're very familiar with, you know, when the bridge is actually open, so they know the routes at exactly the time that the bridge is, or the route is open.
So what could go wrong that we should be thinking about, or what, I mean?
With the construction itself,
Both of them, you know, the construction detour, any kind of other experiences that,
well, we're allowed to work, right, 24/7, so I think maybe that's what Artie was saying, that if you get, or what Dave was saying is that if you have, you know, maybe a 12-hour day, or maybe it's a 10-hour day, but you don't want to get that task done, then maybe it becomes a 12-hour day to get that task. So you just kind of keep track as you go through.
Any chance that we'll get done early?
So the project does have an incentive and a disincentive. So basically, there's a formula where we come up with an estimate that's about 5% of the project, and it's about 50% of that, so 2.5% to meet that 28 days that was mentioned, and then the other half of that is for finishing sooner, and I think it's around 5 days. 5 days sooner is the other half of that incentive, right? If you go 1 hour past that 28 days, right, you don't get any of the incentive, and there's a disincentive. So there's a big, that's kind of even more of a carrot, I guess. That's what we call it, incentive, disincentive, to meet that 28-day window.
St. Ange was the contractor that worked on the Jouer Road Bridge with the town of Fairfield a couple years ago. They did an excellent job, so I have a lot of faith in this work.
Excellent. And already, I won't brag too much about you, but you have done a partial depth panel.
Oh, yeah, those go nice, that goes really
Right,
fast.
so we have an experienced bridge contractor, but also experience with the partial depth panels and in ABC as well.
where are those coming out? Where are those panels coming out? Where are they coming out of?
Carrera and Middlebury,
Okay.
yeah, they were nice, because you can deck the bridge in the day. And the day numbers here is mainly curing time on concrete. That's a lot of the holdup.
And those deck panels are poured already.
Yeah, they're pouring, so we do the old bits, well, there's only like 4 pours in the whole job. And of course,
Yep.
we won't put the guardrail on until after the traffic's there. We're gonna run jersey barriers on the side, and we can do that after the closure time, so.
Well, those are rebar
Yeah,
tension on them before they
Yeah.
cast them.
yeah. Then what is there, 6 inches on top of it, something like that?
I think
5
it's
inches.
I think it's
4
5 inches. But that's a good thing that you mentioned, and Dave talked about a little bit, but that I already just mentioned, is that the 28-day closure, right, doesn't include that cast in place bridge rail, right? And so we're trying to get the traffic on the bridge as soon as possible. So as soon as traffic is on the bridge, there's still gonna be crews there working on the rail. So you're gonna see 1 lane alternating traffic during the day, in that August timeframe.
How'd you get 5 more feet, or how'd you expand the the bike path on the side? Did you spread the?
This bridge rail is only a foot wide, and what's out there, it's like a mini sidewalk almost on on kind of both sides. There's like the curb, so we were able to kind of save a foot there, and then just going a little bit wider on the deck itself. So it really kind of made it easy that it had that kind of wide curb rail on it already. So
Cool.
Kind of bought us a
So
couple
you're
feet
putting a
right.
whole new deck on it?
Yep.
It's just going down to the I-beams?
That's correct.
Correct.
Because you know, just since there's holes there, there must be the deck is pretty well done.
The deck is at the end of its service line.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Alright. Thank you, oh yeah.
Yep. Do that.
Good job.
You guys want us to stick around, or you want us?
No, you guys, you make tracks, you're all set. This will be an exciting meeting, as they all are, so if you wanna stay, you're welcome to, but don't get your rest there for that big project, we want you ready to go.
Thank you, folks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, be back in a few weeks.
Good.
I can come earlier.
Yeah,
I don't have anything, I just came to see that.
Yep.
I'm leaving.
So I can stop screencasting for this group and we can just run the Zoom meeting online or we can keep it up to you guys.
Shut it off. Does everybody own it?
I'll have it up on my laptop, so, but you don't have to see it. Like, I know
Does
sometimes,
everybody own it?
at this point, I don't think so.
Shut it down.
I was gonna, Megan's, what happened with the weekend. And, so just do it. We can discuss it, I think, if there is one comment to be made for the public.
We're talking about the details if needed.
So we're gonna follow this again.
Yeah, so we're in the next
Hold until we follow.
public two.
Seven.
Yep. Just do-
Yeah, it's just.
Well, I got yours, but you didn't leave the, say in Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we'll open up the regular meeting and we're open to hear anything from the public, if there's anybody wants anybody to be heard.
About anything that's not on the agenda?
Yeah, I think so. I know that the board will be considering a new town ordinance. And I just wanted to briefly speak on that in the most general of terms. And that ordinances should never be targeted against one particular person, an individual, or even a group of people, just as a general comment. So as we discuss that, or as the process moves forward, I think we need to keep that in mind and maintain the professionalism and decorum that characterizes the board. So that's the first point. And the second point, I guess, and my final point, is that I personally would be in favor of an ordinance banning public nudity. I don't believe that we should be talking about, legislating morality or what people do in the privacy of their own homes, but certainly in public places, I don't believe it's appropriate for adults to be cavorting around without clothes. So I would be in favor of this ordinance. And I've got some more thoughts. I'm not going to belabor the point. You can, if you do discuss this, the board can take a look at these. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
I'm also here with the same concern. I would support an ordinance because my daughter had to be like 5 feet away from that, and I would like to not have that experience happen again. So I have an example of an ordinance if you need one, but I know there's a couple other.
Which one do you have?
I have Rutland's, but
Is it Swanton or?
I know there's a Swan one and there's one in Stowe.
Agenda item for that. Let's dedicate.
Oh, that is on
20
the
minutes.
agenda? I didn't, okay.
That's all right, no, this is short.
Okay.
I wanna cover it all at once and.
If you have a copy, we.
Yeah, I have the Rutland one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, so Linda, where is she?
Linda is president.
Nothing, so.
She just came for the,
Oh, okay, so
for the
that's,
Bridge course.
Approval of the minutes?
Sure.
How about road foreman first?
Oh, sorry. Missed that.
That's okay.
That's
Sorry.
I got you.
We got to start on the Rhine Road, doing some ditching. We'll put some gravel down here within another week here. Get chloride and put a couple of those weight signs to put up. Get them up, 24,000-pound ones. Well, the grader is from the leak. James got the parts together, they have back together. A few more roads in town to get scraped out already, but for the Rhine Road. Hopefully tomorrow he'll get it back together.
Can I ask a question? 24,000 pounds, isn't that a special weight?
You turn on Rhine Road on there, yeah, it's 24,000.
It's already posted at 24? Okay.
You look, this sign right out here, turn on 36, turn on
It's
36.
24, it's 24, okay. But 24 is the normal weight? Like, it's not something that I have to post as special on the weight restriction thing? Okay.
Our new Ford there, I had to go in because the light was on and, you know, pressure switch or something, we had to replace it, but it's all on warranty, so it covered. 600.
But otherwise, everything's set up
Yeah.
for what you want on it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep,
Is that in, can you double check, are you doing AP right now? Can you just double check if there's a, who did you go to?
it just came back today,
It's not in here.
no
It's not
credit,
in there?
no
Okay,
credit,
okay. Just wondered.
2 credit, I think it's down in the city. Everything else? I don't know.
So the F-550 didn't go as planned, so the bidder backed out of the sale, and the select board needs to determine what next steps we need to take.
Plan B was, we had a plan B, right?
That offer's still good, Hayes offer.
Don't know. I was asked, she left me today, I gave her some.
Yep, check it out, make sure it's still good and ship it.
Okay. Mo, do you want me to check with them, or do you want to check with them?
We'll check on
Okay.
Same deal, James do it.
How about prep for the for this bridge project? So we put gravel down, chloride,
Yep.
in anticipation of that. What else is going on? No signage,
Do we gonna put up road closure signs?
no, I know that, no, but I was thinking about
Road closure.
a
Detour
caution,
sign.
not detour, but a caution we're gonna put a caution for the bridge on it.
That you guys are talking about, one of those billboards, right?
So I was going to write a grant, but the grant that we possibly could qualify for, we didn't qualify for because we haven't had any professional development in the town road crew around street maintenance and anything. So that half of the grant went to how do you do professional development, how much have you done, and how will you do it during this grant. So we don't have a concept for that. So if you would like lights, we can look into lights. I'm not sure what companies go there. We could rent, I don't know.
What are we thinking of, regular green light, or
We were talking,
yeah, no, we
Keyboard.
kind of talked both ways, I mean,
Yeah.
are you thinking just caution narrow bridge? We can do that with a regular sign, or are we gonna
We
do,
already have those signs on Chester Arthur Bridge.
You know.
We have weight signs, I don't know that we have.
There's a narrow bridge
It's
sign.
a narrow bridge on both sides.
We added that narrow bridge sign maybe 5 years ago, Mom?
The state did a package
Yeah.
for it. That says the narrow bridge.
Yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion, I don't know if,
I mean, we don't wanna encourage traffic, but you like to prepare for it, so I would think you'd put some flashing lights.
it might
Have
make
them on
sense
order
that
or
people
something.
that normally wouldn't be going that way are gonna be going that way, so if, I don't think it would, do we have flashing lights, or would we have to buy flashing lights, or?
We don't have nothing like that.
Yeah.
We can talk to the District 8 Regional V-Trans guy too, so you might know.
Well, I think we should do that. Does that,
You should be able to probably just borrow them from the state.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That would be the ideal, 'cause those
I
aren't
guess you
cheap.
could ask you guys.
yeah, well, we can call it back, call Stephanie.
Yep.
Next number.
Is that something you could
I could do that, or
do that?
Mo, did you want me to do that?
Yeah, be good practice. I got plenty of money. All
I
these
don't wanna
people-
step on anybody's toes.
You got
Well, that'd be great, it'd be great if you try to do that.
Sure.
Minutes?
Cassie, do you know exactly what we're looking for?
It sounds like you want, blinking lights, some flashing blinking light, caution, yellow,
Yeah, we
Assuming.
just talked about what we're dealing with, and see what they got,
yeah. Does that sound
what
like?
they recommend.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Or move on those two cherry trees by the old town clerk's office. And they could fall down the hill. I don't think. When it comes to the trees. Can it? With assistance? I'd say. Is it something you guys can do when you got the hour, or? We got a tree guy. Jake Campbell. Yeah, he would, yeah. He did well.
He's a beaver guy too now.
Yeah.
He's a beaver guy and a tree guy, so yeah, that'd be a great project for Jake.
Bottoms getting soft, if it's something you guys don't wanna attack, that's fine, but it's something we gotta do before the wind blows, you and I gotta call on a Monday afternoon. Yeah, I'll see if he jumped this week and then.
I have something to add on that topic,
On which topic?
about taking down those trees. When we've been using Gabe Parent lately, he is such a professional and so inexpensive. So if it seems like that's not gonna get done and you want somebody super reasonable, that guy has put some trees down at our yard within a foot of where we needed them. So,
Gabe did a 10-acre patch cut for me this winter, and his boy Luke as well. Very, very professional.
and super, super reasonable. We can't believe how little money he wants every time he's done something for us, so if you need that done. And it's sensitive where the tree lays, he's a good one to call.
Can I ask a question on the bridge project? Can I make a statement on the bridge project?
Go ahead.
At town meeting, there was a lot of talk about it coming up, and one concern was the amount of traffic that's already been mentioned. They're gonna try and, it sounds like, detour before it gets here, which is a great idea, but as somebody already stated, there'll still be a lot of traffic that'll come through and go that way. Is there money available? My understanding there was a small pot of money that could be used for different things, but one of those things would be to bring in maybe some extra law enforcement down again to help keep the speed down. 'Cause I know that that's one concern down with my family is we already get a lot of traffic there. It already goes by there very quickly while they're trying to farm. And they're concerned with the number of vehicles that will increase and the amount of speed that will come with that. And if there's any way to get extra policing now and again, if that's available, I know that they would appreciate it. So I guess it's kind of a statement for you guys to think about, not a real.
We had a conversation about this.
Yeah, well, why don't you, I mean,
Okay,
the way I understood it, we had a officer from the St. Albans Police Department that had funds that he could use to help us address that concern.
And I have followed up with him.
Perfect. So,
That's where we are at this point.
And that's what
With
I was
any kind of-
wondering is,
Yeah, with any kind of law enforcement, we wouldn't want to talk too much about that process so that it doesn't inadvertently go wrong.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think for the record, it'd be good to know, for the citizens to know that there's gonna be law enforcement to help address concerns.
and if you put that out there ahead of time, it may prevent some problems rather than
Right.
reacting to the problems, so.
and just, what I meant by that was that we wouldn't want to say when, where, like.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
I'm not,
like,
I'm
that's
just
not-
saying, my understanding was
Yeah,
there were some funds available that we could access.
It's not, we wouldn't be accessing it, the police department accesses it, it's the click it or ticket funds, it's a grant that they get
Right,
that they can help with.
but we'd have to ask them to come this way to help us, right? I mean, we'd have to,
Yeah.
they're not just gonna.
No, I think we have,
We have.
that is in process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They,
Thanks for asking.
they came to us and volunteered, and we
We
agreed to,
followed up.
we had to go with it.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
How about the minutes? I make a motion, we approve 13 May 2024.
I have a comment on the minutes. Number
Wait,
20,
I made a motion, I didn't hear a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, now you can,
oh, sorry. There is a error. Number 20, it lists the Stoic group is represented by Daniel Seff. That's incorrect.
Why is it incorrect, Emily?
Because I'm represented by Daniel Seff.
That would probably be wrong.
So it's a little complicated.
Sounds like a big one. Well, that's a pretty big error.
I don't think that the Stoic group is represented by anyone, but I don't want to say that. I just know they're not represented by Daniel Seff.
well, why don't, just to make it clear, since it's my motion, we're gonna strike,
You just kind of take that.
yeah, why don't we strike bullet 20?
Or you could just, Melissa advises the Stoic group,
Just strike it,
yeah, strike
because
it.
it's wrong.
Yeah, I was out of town, so I wasn't able to,
Yeah, that's fine, that's
So I
fine.
don't remember what that was even.
So my motion is amended to strike 20. Any other? Corrections?
Any other errors, comments, or?
I can make a comment now instead of doing it later, that just some clarity on the motion about the parcel that we made. So, David made a motion to, where is it? The select board give the town administrator authority to sign all documents necessary for the purchase of property from the village of Swanton. And this is just validating that that purchase is from the village of Swanton and not the town of Swanton as it was posted on the warning. And so this is really just a ratification of that motion is correct. As written.
Okay.
Okay, good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have, I put out a bid and a request for estimates for the doors and windows at the Old Town Clerk's building. And we had a couple interested, 3 interested that I know of. Only one submitted a bid or an estimate. And that was Eric Spooner, well, so Eric Spooner referred, this person. Originally, I had called St. Alba's Glass as requested from the select board, and Eric Spooner from St. Alba's Glass, recommended Northern Building and Remodeling, Tony Gregoire. He came and he has a pretty good, he has a thorough, estimate of what the project is, and he has really good references. And the total, cost for that would be $12,737 according to his bid. What is the pleasure of the select board?
Okay, so just recap, so that's all new windows,
All the windows.
interior doors,
Mhm.
and what else, anything else?
It was, just the windows and the doors. And also, when he looked at the structure of the windows, the way the structure of the windows is, they're embedded in the brick. So he's going to be putting the windows in there, but he's not gonna take out any of the part of the window that's embedded in the brick. It's like a fort over there, so he's gonna put some PVC over it to make it look appealing and still professional. So that's the only adjustment that he made to the project. And the doors will match the current, we have one door up over there, so there are two doors that will match that one, and then a new door, which is currently a sliding door over there for the bathroom.
Replace that?
Yeah, with a door that opens and locks. A real door.
Pricing's reasonable, for sure. That, in our policy, we don't have any other quotes or?
We don't have any quotes. The policy says that we need to reach out to at least 2 potential bidders, and I reached out to at least 10,
Oh, okay. We're
just
so
in
limited.
the last email.
You got insurance?
He sent in his I mean, he's very professional. He sent in his insurance. He has 34 years of construction experience. He's, he's covered.
Make a motion, we accept the bid.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Last meeting, we talked about, I have to submit some admin hours on the Jouer Road Bridge replacement. And because those admin hours were not my hours, they were previous town administrator hours, I have a letter here, just to ratify that the information that we're submitting to them is correct. So I brought this for Tom to sign, and I was wondering if you wanted to look at it.
Is it similar to, is any changes from what you distributed?
No,
electronically?
it's all the same as what is emailed to the group.
I'm just saying, you reviewed his hours, this is
Yeah.
as close as we can get.
Okay, so the sign is right there. We have the Amcare kind of contracts here, and at the last meeting, there was a question about, is it a 4% increase over the course of the contract, or is it 5%, as it seemed to suggest in the document? This document actually says that after the 10 years, it will go to 5% unless there's a new contract that's made. So if we go over, if we don't sign a new contract, it automatically becomes 5% in the following year after the 10.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for the clarification. We should need, I think, did we make a motion last
We
time?
made a motion if it was 4%,
Right, okay.
we're going with it.
right, so we'll sign that and get that going.
4% for 10 years.
4%
4% every
each
year.
year, yeah. I also followed up on, there were some questions about, where are we? About the NRPC contract funding and ARPA funds. So I brought this. So currently, and I emailed this to you guys, so you know. We had made a motion in January to revise the budget to include $58,000 of anticipated revenue, which would be the surplus from last year, and $34,000 of FEMA reimbursement, which we're just sending the last document in for. And that was new revenue, so, and it's not, tax revenue, sorry, draw map. So the next, so then the next part of that motion was to, allot 2,000 to the zoning legal expense line, 16,224 to the zoning miscellaneous line for the project not funded by the municipal program grant, which was the contract that was presented to you last week. 58,000 to the surplus transfer to equipment line, and then 15,776 to the equipment fund line, bringing it up to 55K. So, that was just to clarify where that money originally, you had talked about getting that money from. And I also have information about the ARPA grant and ARPA funds and where we are with that. Some of the estimates are not quite right, so the town windows and doors are gonna be, what is it, 12.5 now, not 15?
737.
12,737. And then the ramp is correct, and we have, in the last meeting, in addition to the 19,000 that was provided, we had some local bypass gravel and chloride that we wanted to add to that infrastructure. But then we still have $26,391 that needs to be utilized in ARPA funds.
Not until the end of the year.
Not until the end of the year. And the select board at one point was talking about a chloride tank. I don't know if that's still on the table. There were a few things.
I think we ought to just hold on in case
Sure.
something pops up that we.
Any action on this? You need
No,
any
it's just
action?
follow-up from the last
Yeah,
meeting.
good,
You had
good,
asked some questions,
great.
so just wanted to verify.
I wouldn't, the balance until we get done through this bypass thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Oops.
there's gonna be some unexpected expenses in that.
Right.
Just get my notes back on top. Where did you go? So I had been, so there was a request that we talk about the, I think Linda gave you, an email either last meeting or the meeting before about, the park benches in the village,
East Fairfield.
the East Fairfield Village, sorry. And Nance Shaw had requested that the select board talk about either replacing them or doing something about them because they're in horrible shape. She seems to think that they're a risk or a hazard of some sort. And so I just wanted to mention that because she wanted an update on what the select board thoughts are. Nance, you're not here today. No, I invited her to the meeting, but I didn't hear back.
How many are there?
Two.
Just two?
I would just put a new piece of, pressure treated, not the compost,
We'll get the composite and just
wood
put it
on
on
it.
the deck.
I think they're cemented in, so they're not gonna be moved or transferred.
Oh, is that right?
I think you'd have to look at it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
The one that's facing the Route 36, I don't think you're gonna move it around.
No. If you could, they'd have been moved by now.
That's for sure.
I would just, go to carpenter and put some
And
wood.
handyman people that you think I should reach out to on that?
It'd be nice if somebody would just say, I'll go do it for you. Have James do it.
So James is behind on everything. James Gilmet, he's,
Well, if you want a
coming-
carpenter, that's what
I
you're
know,
gonna hear
he's-
from all of them.
I know some carpenters, some handyman people, but, just don't wanna move forward without, you're okay with that?
It's less than $2,000, right?
Yeah,
So
replace.
we could do it without
Yeah.
getting bids. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Let's see. So the other part so the last part is the Vermont Child Care contribution, which I think is on the agenda as new business. So, and I've already ratified the vote to accept the parcel, so that was finished. So do you wanna talk about the?
Yep, keep going.
So the Child Care Contribution Act of, Act 76 of 2023 says that we are now, as a municipality, as business, all businesses have a 0.44% tax to provide to the state of Vermont. And the question for the select board is not do you want to pay it, because we have to pay it, but it's what percentage, if any, do you think that the employees should contribute? The state of Vermont is allowing businesses to determine if they want employees to contribute as a kind of offset this tax, or if so, if they contribute, at what percentage, and it can only be up to 0.11% of their total, the individual's total gross income. So that's about 25% of the full tax. And I created a chart of what that might look like in real life, so.
Why don't you explain that, chart?
Sure. So if you just drop to the bottom, the total employer contribution with no offset by staff, which is 0.44% of gross wages per payroll. Sorry, not per payroll, but the total is 74,000, that's $74. So per payroll is $74.43. What that would look like annually is that the town would be paying, without any contribution from staff, $1,935.28. This is according to our gross wage of our most recent payroll. So assuming that nobody quits and nobody's changing their income. And then this is beginning July 1st, so the actual 2024 amount for this year is gonna be about $1,116.51. So if you break down that $74 per payroll, if we offset, if the full-time employee offsets this total tax with their income based on average income, that would be about $2.38 per full-time employee. That would be taken out. So that would be $61.90 per person. And in 2024, that would be $35.71.
I don't think we charge the employees. I think the town should just accept that cost and consider.
So then I
So
did.
the tax is 0.44 of the gross wages?
Yeah, it's 0.44.
That's the.
It's another tax. The governor veto of this tax was overridden, so the new tax has
Where it goes? Childcare.
to fill the childcare deficit in the state of Vermont. That's what the reading that I.
A lot of childcare subsidized by the state.
I guess like maybe this year and then have negotiations for salary increases and everything, we could talk about it.
Yeah. It might be noted that, it is a benefit for an employee.
So,
Yeah, philosophically, I think everybody should have skin in the game, just as a matter of, but I don't think it's fair to impose it on an employee right now, but that's exactly what the legislature's doing. And so philosophically, I think the state, or the town ought to pony up, and we ought to, ask the employees to pony up. But since it's kind of mid, we can have this conversation when we do our contracts.
That's what I said. Right, I agree. Yeah. I'll second Ron's motion that we pay it for this year and then at negotiations, we'll talk about it.
Sure.
okay. less administrative work right now for me, which is great. The other thing when we get to it is you have some flexibility on what that can look like per individual. And I think that's it for me.
Okay, so a couple questions before we move on. Did anything happen with the septic at the common school?
So the contract is being signed,
Okay,
and
Okay.
the money for their deposit is in this week's AP. So they require a deposit to sort of lock into their
okay.
contract.
And I don't need to do it now, but before the meeting, I'd like to go into an executive session to discuss a real estate matter concerning town property. For just an update.
Somebody second? Oh, are we,
I'm not making a motion, I just wanted to,
that's,
Yeah. not making a motion right now.
There's an invoice for an invoice too. Do we have the full final report?
we have an invoice that will, if we don't pay it, will impose a fine on us, and we have not received our audit yet. And I've called them multiple times, and this is sort of, I thought it would change this year because we have a new contract with them, but they only just picked it back up I think 2 weeks ago, they said, because now that they're finished taxes. Which is what happened last year, and it leaves us hanging in terms of our books. We can't, they provide adjusting journal entries that so we can close our books, so we can't close our books until they provide those to us. They haven't provided those to us yet. So it's an issue, and Amanda has talked to them as well. They have they told me, the most recent update was they told me that they were gonna get us something by Friday. They did not. They do that, they've done that multiple times at different junctures, so. Even though it's in there as a check, I can hold the check and if the select board wants me to. I didn't want it to get to be a fine on top of the invoice.
What does our contract with them say?
Do any counties, do they have to pay counties?
Actually, they do, I can go grab it,
Yeah, this is,
yeah, it's an issue.
I don't mind being late, but.
They've missed, can't remember the date. Sorry, they have quite a contract. In order to maintain our pricing, we expect to be able to perform preliminary audit planning in the month of January and begin field work procedures as soon as December 31st, as close as December 31st as possible. Final audit reports will be issued no later than July 31st.
It was a total contract.
Oops. I have to grab that from. I have to look at, there's another file that has that.
That's,
It sounds like they're still in compliance with their contract.
The reason that they have that is because they, the state of Vermont doesn't issue workman's comp, rate changes until July, the end of June. So that gives them 1 month to comply with that. The understanding was that they were going to provide us adjusting journal entries though, which is, you know.
that's conversation we've had in the last 2 years.
Yeah, over and over again, and it's just a really challenging, it's challenging to pay somebody for work that we haven't seen yet. They've been here, they've gone through all of our files, we've provided them everything that they've asked for.
What was the total contract? Was it,
So I need to go
just
get it.
rough, was it 20 or was it 40?
I don't remember, honest to God, it's just numbers, so I have to write them all down in order to make sure that I'm on track. I can hold on to the check and let them know that as soon as we have something from them, we'll.
The invoice date was last week, so we'll go to the next meeting, find what the total contract was.
Okay. Any other questions?
Great, thank you.
You have a question? Yeah. It's okay. Oh, those are both the library people. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so some of it really depends on how many,
So it's not a flat fee, it's based on how many images.
it depends, so there's two different sections. One is uploaded based on per, I don't know, plat or something. And then one is the basic contract, totally different.
Yeah.
You good?
We're good,
Okay,
yeah.
so you wanted to.
Well, I think the next one is, tell us old business, ratifying. the
Oh, so
parcel.
that was the thing that we did in the minutes instead.
Okay, great.
Right, so I just made sure, because there was a discrepancy between what the lawyer told us to do and what was truly supposed to happen, and when I researched it, we just needed to ratify what was clear, what was clearly supposed to be there,
Okay,
and it's in the minutes accurately.
okay. So under new business, I asked that to be added to the agenda for a new ordinance. I think Mr. Pipes did a really good job of saying, you know, this isn't about an individual, but over the weekend, I received 5 phone calls / emails with quite extensive details about the need for this ordinance. And I've done some research, and Wilmington, Brattleboro, Swanton have this ordinance that's before us. The ordinance you just showed me is from the town of Rutland, and the only difference with that and what the town of Swan has, it has a definition of public area and public places, and I think it's because they have a university in Rutland, and they wanted to kind of go through some university art scenarios, which I don't think are appropriate here. So, other than that, it's the same statute. I did talk to the town administrator, Brian Savage, and he was an original signer of this statute for the town of Swanton. Joel Clark also, I talked to Joel, who was a former chair of Swanton Selectboard. And I did talk to the village police chief extensively today, Matt Sullivan. And I talked to the Vermont State Police, Mike Philippek. And so I think this is really straightforward. They all said it's really smart to have a public indecency ordinance, and that's what was circulated to the board. I think it sets a reasonable standard. This isn't about like private property or homes. This is about public places and roads and both Swanton said it's working fine. It's been on the books for 20 years. It's a reasonable thing to do. And I think we should, I think we could vote on it tonight, but I know it's gonna take a public notice, and we have to get, make sure that we do our due diligence, and we should share this with the community and put it on Front Porch Forum, and if there are people, but I would like to make a motion that we either conceptually adopt this ordinance tonight, and then ask our administrator to do the research to make sure we, give the proper notification and look for feedback. But one way to do it is make a motion that we're.
Let's have a discussion tonight and not jump into an ordinance in the heat of the moment, just everybody's. Like, you talked to the state police in Swanton. Why didn't this ordinance apply in the last year or so?
It does apply.
Right, but
It does apply in Swanton.
So that's what I'm asking.
So here's what I want to be really careful is. So we'll go into executive session if you want to talk about police reports and what police chiefs are saying about.
No, my question is generic. We have an ordinance for dogs being licensed. We can't enforce it. Is this enforceable?
Okay, so I really feel strongly that we should pass an ordinance, and then a separate discussion is enforcement. And from talking to the police chief and Vermont State Police, they said it's good to have an ordinance, and there are ways that Kathy reached out to our town constable, who has amazing credentials, and Kathy even said maybe we could have him do some enforcement of, dog-related issues. But
He did tell me that since he's been constable, he has not been called upon by the select board to do.
Right, but he doesn't have any
Right.
jurisdiction over anything.
well, I think from talking to the people that I talked to, I think there's two separate questions. I think you pass an ordinance, and then you talk about enforcement. And I don't, there's no rush to do anything, Dave, and I want to be really.
No, I guess
really-
I just wanna ask all the questions, because otherwise we're gonna have a pile of ordinances that are like that. I wanna make
Well,
sure
I just,
everything's clear.
there's, in my mind, as someone who, we took oaths, to protect the public.
Yeah.
This is a good first step. And there's other, and we can talk about those. I think we should thoroughly let this, but there's other steps that are gonna be, I think, are gonna have to be considered.
Yeah, once an ordinance is passed, we would have to put public notice up for a certain amount of time, and I think 5 different places, and then put it in the newspaper.
Brought it up.
Yeah,
Here.
so it's something, it takes multiple steps, and I would be happy to help with that process if you need to.
It's not unreasonable, the steps is.
No, they're not. It's a public comment period. If anybody has any problem with it, they are invited to come and discuss it with the select board.
Yes, and I'd wanna run it by Jim Barlow before we just.
So it's right in the statute. If the select board desires to adopt an ordinance, it shall cause the ordinance to be entered in the official record kept by the board's proceedings, and thereafter the board shall adopt the ordinance, subject to final approval after the public hearing as hereafter set forth. The ordinance shall then be published in a newspaper of general circulation of the town, together with a notice of the time and place of a public hearing to consider the ordinance for final passage. Such publication to be on a day at least 1 week and not more than 2 weeks prior to the date of the hearing. At the public hearing or any time and place to which the hearing may from time to time be adjourned, the ordinance shall be read in full. After the public hearing, the select board may finally adopt the ordinance with or without amendment. Every ordinance shall become effective upon passage unless otherwise stated. Referendum petition is filed within 40 days. The ordinance shall not become effective until after the question of repeal is voted.
So did you want me to give it to Jim Bob?
I think this has been through enough towns that I don't think we really need to go that far. I think we adopt this and.
Yeah, and then we go through the public hearing session, look for feedback, there might be some corrections or some suggestions. I think it's responsible, it's not, you know, it's, but that's what my opinion, I don't know.
I mean, you can start there, but I mean, it's no good unless you're gonna come up with some.
I
Enforcement
think
issues.
the concern, and I have it as well, because my kids have been exposed to it, isn't gonna be addressed by this, because if it was, it would have been addressed in Swan.
It was.
But, right, but no more outcome than.
Oh, no, that's not true at all. No, that's not true at all. Not true,
Okay, so I'm not,
yeah.
But-
Well, I'd like to make a motion, we pass this, we pass this ordinance, I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Any other comments from the?
You got a gentleman?
Just wanted to address the board, Sean Sheen, I'm a resident of Swanton, but I'm a part-time resident of Fairfield. Until I'm told I can't be anymore, but I do have a camp on Fairfield Pond, and had a chance to work for Mr. Pipes in a previous business that we had worked in. So being in Swanton, we adopted this ordinance 20 years ago in 2003 because they were having problems. And they ended up resurfacing again 20 years ago, or 20 years later, I should say, and they were able to resolve them by calling law enforcement. And it was kind of left alone for a little bit at first. It was kind of, but as time went on, it became a bigger nuisance. They did end up calling law enforcement, and law enforcement did end up handling it. As always, law enforcement has the ability to do what they do best, and discretionary actions can be taken so that they can choose to decide what level to handle that at. But what ends up happening is if there isn't an ordinance, you're gonna end up taking, somebody in the community is gonna step up. One of your sheepdogs of the community who's having their kids let out from school and somebody's choosing to walk by school at the time, or they're out in the playground somewhere. One of your good citizens who just feels this is wrong, because they don't have another option, meaning they don't have the ability to call the police, because there is no ordinance, there's nothing they can do. They may have done it once before and called the police and realized there's nothing they can do. They're gonna end up taking that into their own hands. And now you're gonna have a good citizen who just feels this is wrong, and they're gonna take it in their own hands, and now they become the person who's in trouble at that point, right? They now become the criminal. And I don't think you wanna have that in your community as well. Think of the next scenario as well. A bus driver is heading down a country road and ready to drop one of the kids off of the 20 that are on the bus still, and now you have somebody that's now walking up towards that residence, in that condition. What does that bus driver do? Do they drop that kid off? Do they keep the kid on the bus? They keep the kid on the bus and drive by, and now so the parents are going, why didn't my kid get let off the bus? They drop the kid off the bus, they may now have left that kid in harm's way, or they sit there and wait, and now there's a parade that runs by for all the kids to see. You're really putting that person in a tough position too. So don't always think about the one scenario, think about the many that can develop. And I'd hate to see some of your good citizens of your community end up having to take something into their own hands and now become a criminal themselves. And so just think about, some of the options. But again, it did happen before in Swanton, which is why it was put in place, and they were able to ratify that. And then the town clerk and many others, sounds like you've already spoke to some, Brian Savage, Joel Clark, and others. And the town clerk also reiterated those same things to me as well today, that we were able to kind of take that in our own hands as things were on. So.
or I guess, I'd rather run it by.
I think you,
Just because the neighbors did it, doesn't mean I'm gonna do it, so just, we have a good lawyer.
Can we adopt it and still run by Jim?
Sure.
With his approval, we
Because
could.
we need to get it started if we're gonna do it, I think.
So do you want to run it by Jim, or do you think it's not?
there's a motion and it's seconded,
Okay,
so,
okay.
you know, we could,
Yeah,
I think we're ready for a vote. I mean, you can, you know,
Yeah,
you don't vote no, if you,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's.
we can
I
send,
agree, I just-
certainly we should send it to Jim, absolutely. But we're gonna go through, a public hearing.
Right.
We're gonna get feedback. Melissa just read, that's great, structure, so.
Is there any other comments from the public?
I think you'd have just the general overall support of getting the ball rolling. If you put it off and something happens in the next couple of weeks, I think it could be looked upon very poorly, that you put off getting the ball rolling.
Yeah, I would second that, I would definitely get the ball rolling, I don't know what it does to wait, I don't understand what that's gonna, we've been waiting, we've seen what happened. Other towns have done it, so it's not like we're on to some footing that nobody's ever done. And there is definitely, as Ryan, you said, an opportunity for folks to come in and voice their concern in another way, if there's a group of folks that feel that way. So I would definitely encourage you to move forward at this point and let the process work itself through.
Yes, I would encourage that, because I do think it's a safety issue for.
And I think you're smart to get counsel, so you're affirming your
I've
concern.
dealt with this
Yeah.
instance all spring, it's been an issue with my kids.
Oh, okay,
I've dealt with every police agency around, and they all won't touch it, so I just wanna make sure we're not just jumping into the fire.
Okay.
I agree, we need to do something, cause the neighbors are not happy, so.
Call the motion?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No, just do it.
Okay, just to debrief
In favor?
yeah, it was all
What
unanimous.
did you say?
Yeah, we got 3, 4.
You're abstaining, or are you?
No,
Did you vote?
No, I abstain.
Okay.
oh, you abstained.
Okay, so just for the public, one of the
Hold on.
conversations.
Did you just say you abstained, or you said you
Yeah,
were in
sure.
favor?
Sure, just make it interesting, I abstain, how's that?
And what's your vote?
I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Okay, just to share with the public, for those like Dave who say, there's question the enforcement. So for the record, and for Front Porch Forum, and for anyone in our community who feels threatened by anything, if you feel threatened in our community, you can, from the Vermont State Police, in addition to having an ordinance, they said it would be very helpful for an individual, if they felt threatened, just Google no stalking order, a no stalking order. You Google a no stalking order, you pull up the form, you fill it out online, you submit it, you have to have a sworn testimony about why you're asking for a no stalking order. And the Vermont State Police said that would be very helpful. So if you have an ordinance about public exposure and you have a no stalking order on record because of a infraction, and if there's a second infraction, they just said that makes it very helpful for us to do our job. And that's for anyone in our community feels like they're threatened in any kind of situation. And it's a civil action, and they just recommended, the St. Albans Barracks commander said, those are two things that you could do for parents or anyone, elderly people.
Similarly, Brian, I got a no trespass order because I went through the state police, the sheriff, and then the court system. And so if an individual comes onto my property, I can have him arrested. And the behavior that triggered this, that caused me to go to those lengths, because there was no ordinance in place, stopped. because this individual was served papers from the troopers saying, hey, smarten up. If you continue this behavior that you're doing, you will be arrested. Having had the behavior so I did what I had to do to take care of me and mine. But it can be done, it's just having an ordinance, a town ordinance would have made it a lot easier. So,
I think I'm gonna make that motion to go into executive session for real estate concerning town property. I think so, unless,
You get the warrants.
oh no, you're right,
Yeah, make a motion
I
to
make-
approve the warrants.
I second.
With the exception of the invoice for AM Peisch, which we're gonna hold until the next meeting.
So can we hold the check and not send
did
it
you
out?
vote?
Or,
Just a point of order.
Yeah, we voted.
Oh, okay, I missed it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Sleeping?
Talking.
You were so, you I saw sleeping.
if I can hold the check, then it would be just less,
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the warrants, with the exception of the check for AM Peisch, which we're gonna hold until our next meeting.
Yeah, and if there's no updates on that, on the properties, that one we
not
don't
at
need
this
to.
point.
Okay, well then we don't need to do that.
But I can have an update on properties for the next meeting.
Let's vote on
Well,
that.
I'll just wait and see. So you got all the,
You got it?
I got it.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
One more question, could we do a no trespassing order as a town?
Huh,
Why don't you
interesting.
research that?
Can you do what, Dave?
Oh, for a public beach?